This is the Retirement Solution Podcast with financial advisor Jon Hicks, founder of J. Hagan Capital.
The first year of your retirement can make or break your plan, all due to this one risk factor that tragically, John, not a lot of people know about.
Yeah.
But it can have this much effect on your future. So we feel that you should know about it, which is why we're going to break it down here. We're going to tell the story of two brothers. Lean in, everybody. Gather around, kids. There's an article on Kiplinger.com that was talking about the danger of the stock market turning sour in that first year that you retire. And in it, this story, they followed these two brothers, Sam and Dave. Both had saved $500,000 at retirement with the plan they're going to take $30,000 each a year out of their $500,000 in retirement to live off of. Okay. So brother Sam, he retired in the year 2000. Brother Dave retired in 2010. After 10 years, Dave had $874,000, so $374,000 more than where he'd started with.
Okay.
Sam only had $96,000.
Ooh, started with $500,000. Ooh.
He went through the huge market declines of the year 2000 and the year 2008. Dave, his brother, did not.
Sure.
So, of course, I mean, when it comes to market timing, we always say you never time the market. You just can't. Right. And Sam certainly was unlucky in those 2 years and with that factor on his plan. But what do we need to know about this risk, this sequence of returns risk that not enough of us know about, and what can we do to help minimize it on our own savings?
Yeah, so unfortunately, sequence of returns, I mean, there have been tons of really smart Nobel Prize winners talk about this, from William Sharpe to Thaler did it. Even Jack Bogle, who founded Vanguard, talked about this all the time. He's like, there's this dirty little secret that no one really talks about because people in the financial industry, they can't do anything about it because no one knows.
Right.
And what is that secret? No one knows if they're retiring at a good time or retiring at a bad time. And think about this. So let's go back to this example of these two brothers. One of them retired right after the huge run up, right? We had Reagan, and then we had Bush, and then we had Clinton, and the market was going through the roof all the way up to 1999. It was the highest that the market had ever been. And so someone getting ready to retire in 1997 and 98, getting ready for it in 1999, let's go. They're sitting on top of the biggest mountain of money than they ever, thought they'd have. And then all of a sudden they retire. And then what happened to that brother? So Sam retired in 2000, only unfortunately to be met with that huge Mike Tyson punch in the face of the year 2000 when the dot-com bust, started happening. But it wasn't just 2000. And so in this example, Sam, he still was pulling money out to live off of.
Right.
But the market was going down. He was pulling money out as it was going down. It happened for 2000, 2001, and 2002. It happened again in 2008. So that $500,000, unfortunately, at the end of that period of time was only worth $70-something thousand. Unbelievable. Now, had he had any idea that was going to happen? No. No one knew the dot-com bust was going to happen. No one knew that 2008 we were going to have the Great Recession. No one saw it. His advisor didn't know that. No one knew that. But in that example, that is the sequence of return risk, that the year that we retire is a bad sequence of the returns that we're going to experience. And unfortunately, we see it all the time. And there's no way of knowing what the market's going to do, which is why it's so important to understand. Predictions don't matter. Preparation does. Because he just had the 2 or 3 different strategies that we utilize for our clients to help avoid or at least minimize that risk, he would have been in a completely different zone. Because his brother, Dave, had the same $500,000, pulled out the same amount of money. He just didn't retire in a bad situation. And no one knew. No one can predict. No one knows what the president's going to do. No one knows what Congress is going to do. No one knows what geopolitical events are going to happen. No one knows what tax rates or interest rates. No one can control all those things. And if you think about how long retirement lasts, it's not just 5 to 10 years. Hopefully it's 20 to 30 years, maybe 35 years for some people. So there's probably going to be a lot of ups and downs over that period of time. So we have to protect ourselves from this. So the luck factor is what we can avoid. All right. And here's how we do that. To avoid the luck factor, we have to understand that we need 3 buckets of money that we're going into retirement with. Number one, we need our now money that we cannot afford to lose because we're going to need it. We're going to need it this year or next year. 2 years worth of income. That's bucket number one, the now bucket. Now, this bucket, on top of just housing safe money, we need it liquid and available. So in the event that something wrong happens, like we have an electrical storm, I had a storm and actually hit my house, had it hit one of the lightning rods. We had a very small but lightning shot that hit our house. And unfortunately, it fried a lot of things in our home. We had no idea that was going to happen. So the thing about that now bucket is we need it liquid and we need it safe, because we need to know that we can deal with 1 to maybe even up to 3 years worth of bad markets without ever worrying about running out of money or without ever worrying about needing more income, right? Okay. So that's the now bucket. Mm-hmm. We have 2 other buckets. The one in the middle we call the soon bucket. We also call it the income bucket. This is the bucket that is built to not grow so much. It's great if it does, but we really want safer style investments or less volatile investments that are built to give us income. Historically, this is where a lot of traditional advisors would talk about bonds. Unfortunately, bonds have not been the world's greatest investment over the last 10 to 12 years. We'll see what happens in the future, but this is where we typically want lower correlated assets. We want not very volatile assets, and it's great if they can spin us off some income. So this is where I may even, in my mindset, be putting real estate in there. Like if you have rental properties, I would put those in there along with CDs, laddered bonds, things like that. You may use structured notes. You may use principal protected notes, something that has some downside protection, but can give you income that you can use to do what? Replenish that now bucket every year. Every year, we want to keep adding money to that. Hey, I might need this next year, so let's go ahead and get it over there where I can spend it, right? That's its job. Okay. Now, like we've all heard before, you cannot serve 2 masters, which is very true. We need that middle bucket, that soon bucket, that income bucket to do one thing well: create income. Growth is not really a factor as much as produce income so that we can live in retirement and not worry about things, okay? So we have bucket 1 and bucket 2. Now the third bucket. Now this is the one that almost everyone focuses on, almost to the point where they fixate on it. And this essentially is the later bucket, because this is how we typically saved in our 401ks. We put money in and hopefully it grows. And hopefully we get our company to compound and give us more money on top of that. Mm-hmm. And it grows and grows. We always thought as we were growing our money, this is for later. This is for later. This is for retirement. This is later. When we get to retirement, later is now, which is why we have to have the now and soon buckets. But that bucket is really the growth bucket. The growth bucket is completely different. We really want to have assets in that growth bucket that, frankly, we still want to stay within our risk tolerance, but we're not so worried about the volatility. Why? Because this is the bucket we need in the long run to help offset inflation, healthcare costs, help us with some of our tax planning, be the money that's going to go probably to the next generation. In this bucket, we expect, hopefully, that it will grow and compound for the next 20 to 30 years of retirement. Now, because of that, because we have zero thought in our mind that we need to utilize that money for 15 to 20 years, we can handle a little bit more risk. But Heather, what we typically see is that people still treat all of 3 of those buckets as, well, I still want it to grow, and I want it to give us income, and I want liquidity, and I want safety. And unfortunately, no one particular investment style can do that. And unfortunately, when we try to do that, jack of all trades, we become a master of none and we fail in retirement. So the greatest way to help avoid or eliminate the failures that we would have with a sequence of return risk is by understand simply, it's a bucket strategy. We just want 3 simple buckets, and we want to make sure mathematically that it's right for us. So everyone's retirement is going to be different than the next person's. That's why whenever we're talking to people, we want to find out, hey, what does your retirement look like? How fuzzy is that image, or how clear is it? If you know exactly what you want, retirement planning should be a breeze. You'll love it because it's going to give you so much more flexibility and freedom than you've probably ever had before. Because then you can actually see, done correctly, this is how leveraging your savings, this is how leveraging your money can work best for you. Because we'll understand, how much do you need now? How much money income are you going to have? Hey, do we want a little extra? Do we want a slush bucket of $15,000 to $30,000 a year for extra vacations, or to rescreen the back porch, or to help the grandkids out with college or a car? That's the best thing, is that we know we can plan that, and we won't just be growing money until we're gone. That's the paradigm that we need to shift. That's what we need to change. It's not about growing the money. It's about harvesting the money now. We don't want it to grow anymore and then wither on the vine. We want to be able to use it to harvest it so that we can accomplish all those things that we're most excited about. So sequence of return risk is eliminated by most great planners by simply following the bucket strategy. If you don't have a bucket strategy, if you've never seen it happen firsthand, you should. Skilled fiduciary advisors should use this because it's really one of the greatest ways to not be product centered, is to be planning centered, right? It's not about predicting. It's about preparing. And so when you do the bucket system, it doesn't matter if we have a good market, a bad market, a bull market, a bear market. It really won't matter because we know we're good for income. We're good for creating more income down the road, and we're good for growing assets. Done correctly, that's probably one of the greatest things that anyone can do to have a great retirement in the long run.
Quickly, before we wrap up, I just want to ask you the blunt question that you have answered throughout this conversation about getting back to the sequence of returns risk, because something else that we all know, the market usually recovers over time. So why can an early crash cause this kind of permanent damage?
Yeah, so Fidelity did a study on this, and they find out if you lose money in the 3 years preceding retirement or the first 3 years of retirement, 6 times more likely of running out of money. Think about that real quick. 6 times more likely. Why? Because even though the market rebounds, the money that you lost when you've pulled out to spend, it never is. It's gone. You've already spent it, so it's not there to rebound. That's the problem.
Okay.
So compounding interest does not work. If you've pulled out those dollars, it doesn't compound back. So that's why it's so devastating.
Okay.
So when you're looking at 2 portfolios, one that experienced a downturn in the beginning, the chances of you running out 600% more likely per Fidelity. That's kind of scary.
Gotcha.
So if we can develop a plan and stick with it that reduces that issue, that's a much better plan in general.
Let's begin the conversation helping you understand about your plan, your money, your future. It's retirementsolutionshow.com, or just click on the links we've got posted in the show notes.
Thanks for listening to the Retirement Solution Podcast with Jon Hicks. Begin the conversation about your savings plan with Jon and the team at J. Hagan Capital by visiting retirementsolutionradio.com. Be sure to listen to Jon's radio show, The Retirement Solution, Saturdays at 8 a.m. and Sundays at 9 a.m. on News Radio 840 WHAS.
J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is licensed in your state, please call 502-690-5635. J. Hagan Capital Incorporated is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through J. Hagan Capital, LLC, NPN number 188279094.